And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas.
And it's New Year's Eve. It's raining outside if you hear it. It's storming. You're going to hear some thunder and lightning. We got Jason and Jason here. We just watched From Dusk Till Dawn because it's Vampire January, motherfuckers.
Woo!
Oh, we're getting demonetized on YouTube because I said the F word in the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, you know you can't do
it's
that.
okay. We're not making that much on YouTube.
Are you monetized on YouTube?
No, not at all. When I say we're not making much, I'm saying zero. So
yeah, but when we are monetized, we're out.
We're going to be in trouble. Ready to conquer chaos like a horror movie final girl? Whether you're running a business or managing a side hustle, Ringtree LLC is the ultimate tool for taming your business calls. With features like intelligent call routing, voicemail to email, and custom greetings, you can create a professional phone presence all through your smartphone. No extra hardware needed. You can also separate work and personal calls, and you can choose your area code anywhere in any city across the US and Canada. At just $24 a month, it's a killer deal. Sign up today at ringtree.io and simplify your business life so you can get back to enjoying the things you love, like horror movies. Well,
in the wise words of Bodies, today's episode is a podcast about hanging out with your smartest and funniest friend. And by that, I mean Jason the librarian.
And Jason the hater, who's no longer the hater.
Yeah, we've called him that because every time we tried to show him certain movies, he was a fucking grump, and he had all these weird complaints and criticisms that didn't make sense. And then he watches all the movies for the podcast, and he's like, yeah, I liked it.
Well, I think this is going to be another one he likes, so...
Yeah, I need you to find some plot holes and be a bitch like you normally are, Jason. That's why we have you on. And you just keep failing us.
True. But we have to start this evening. It's New Year's Eve, so we're gonna, it's 60 seconds in, so we won't get in trouble for drinking alcohol on stream, whatever this is. Yeah. So, we got some shots to go around. So, cheers, everyone. Happy New Year's.
Cheers.
We're doing stuff after this. We're not super lame that we're just recording the podcast, so. And slam it down like he did in the movie, right? Oh my God. That peaked the mic very hard. I have another one. I'm doing a second. That was Kahlua because you guys are babies. Ooh.
Kahlua was great.
Well, you can't drink alone, yeah.
True, right?
We all have a second bev ready.
Oh, don't forget, I'm cracking a beer too. Let's go.
Are we all cracking?
Ooh, that shot of whiskey hurt. Okay. So.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
There's no good way to cover this movie without a couple beverages during and
I also have to
talking.
say, this is not coming out like as
I don't care. I'm recording
on
New Year's, so
this isn't going to come out for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
we need to know how we are. And it's Vampire January. All right.
There are no rules to Vampire January.
Well, doing this a bonus episode if we have Patreon subscribers.
True.
Yeah, because we have Patreon. Well, let's get into the film talk because obviously this is a cinematic masterpiece, incredibly deep, thoughtful piece of filmmaking. So we need all the time we can get here.
Hey, I mean, this is like a top 50th percentile in vampire movies. So like,
it's probably fair.
It's better than all 5 Twilight movies. So
Yo. That's
it's better than at least 4 or 5 Twilight movies.
That's
yeah.
No comment.
You're all ganging up on me.
So we watched From Dusk Till Dawn, which...
You already said that.
I know, I'm going to say if you don't know anything about it, it is a vampire movie. Spoilers. It's from 1996, so get over it.
The vampire thing is a twist. Like, you're watching 45 minutes of what feels like a totally different movie. And bam, there are vampires.
And that's why this movie is absolute magic. But I'm sure you have lots of background, so tell us. Who directed this movie, Hannah?
So it's directed by Robert Rodriguez, but it was written by Quentin Tarantino. And what's really fun about that is this was Quentin Tarantino's first paid writing assignment in the biz.
I get it. I get why we kept him around.
He agreed to write the screenplay for $1,500. And the agreement was
he could star in it, right?
So essentially, he was writing this so they could create work for K&B EFX Group, which was owned by Robert Kurtzman, who had the idea for the story.
Wait, I know that name, Kurtzman.
Yeah.
Why do I know that name? He's very famous, right?
Co-founded what I just said.
Oh,
the
okay.
K&B EFX Group.
Gotcha.
So, because he had the idea for this and was like, we want to show off our shit, can you write this? And then Quentin was like, yeah, I'll write it for $1,500, and then you can provide makeup for my movie that I'm doing, which was Reservoir Dogs.
Whoa, okay.
So they needed them to do the ear.
Really? Okay. That's really cool.
So I thought that was so funny. This is one of 2 feature-length films that Tarantino is credited as having written outside of his own films.
What was the other one? Is it Blue Velvet? No, not Blue Velvet.
In a way.
Joke's on you because I didn't look it up.
No, I know what it is. It's I'll look it up. I know it. It was that he wrote it and he funded all of his other movies with it.
Who's to say, really? It could be anything. Okay, obviously I was joking, but what was it?
It was True Romance that he wrote. For some reason I said Blue Velvet because I get those movies mixed up in my head.
That's different.
Insane.
Yeah, I haven't seen either, so.
Yeah, those are different. Well, this film was starring George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino himself, and Harvey Keitel, which is hilarious. And this is George Clooney's first film leading man role, which is hilarious.
I know, and I said immediately, you're like, okay, this, you know instantly, you're like, this guy's going to be a star.
Yeah, immediately.
Like, he's fantastic.
So charismatic. Mm-hmm. He's so funny in this.
He has the sauce, as the kids say.
Since this came out in 1996, I did want to highlight that he did come into the spotlight in 94
With
for
ER.
But this was his first film leading man role, and he was nominated for Best Breakthrough Performance for the MTV Film Awards.
The only ones that really matter.
Of course, yes. The primary awards circuit. Something that I think some of the boys here as engineers will feel tiffy. You'll have been a tiff about this one. This film employed a non-union production crew.
Oh, that is big no-no.
I hope they had a rat outside.
I am actually shocked that these people continue to work after, actually.
It's apparently very unusual for a production with a budget above $15 million.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Which this was, yeah. I think this is not the first or last time Robert Rodriguez had a non-union crew.
Ooh, I didn't know that about him. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what the matte paintings are for, is covering up the rats.
Yeah.
Well,
for anyone knows what Jason isn't talking about, there's definitely a matte painting effect at the end, and it's incredible. And more movies should use them because they look way better than any VFX, I think.
It's pretty cool. Well, Tarantino himself has also made a pretty public display of refusing to join the Writers Guild of America. So he has also been mad about union work.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so Pulp Fiction couldn't be nominated under certain awards shows.
He's such a shithead. I love Tarantino, and I think everything that makes him great is because he's a shithead and really annoying, but like, come on, dude.
I do agree Tarantino is a shit.
But it's what makes him great.
I've seen too many interviews where I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be around that guy.
Oh, no, he would be the most annoying person to be around, but I think he is like a top 5 best living directors. So, American directors.
Fight. What do you guys think? Would you put him in top 5?
I would.
I enjoy every one of his works.
I know Jason's putting him in top. Farkas is.
I know so few living directors. That's also true.
Okay,
I don't really know,
all right.
but yeah.
My issue is if I were to name like top 5 best living directors, it's all going to be white guys right now, and then maybe Jordan Peele.
I don't even pay attention to directors. Like, honestly, I pay attention to writers more so than directors.
Interesting.
Well, I don't have like the eye to appreciate it. It's like, oh, that's good direction.
But you love Lynch, who's
I
a great director as well.
But I think he's a great ideas guy too.
You're right. But that's what makes him like a top 5 is that it's both. Like, I think Spielberg and Scorsese are both top 5, 2 old white guys. Sorry.
There's a good thing with like a story with behind the scenes of Twin Peaks talking with Donna, and she was saying it's like, oh yeah, it's like having trouble getting this like timing right in this scene, or like getting the mood right. And then David Lynch came up to her and said, it's like, do this scene like you're a deer walking through snow. And she said that made everything click and make sense.
And that's why he's top 5. Easily. I think it's Lynch, PTA, Tarantino, Scorsese, Spielberg. And I know I'm stereotypical for Scorsese and Spielberg, but there's a reason they've been around for as long as they have. So suck it.
I know this man only has 4 movies, but I would like to throw Robert Eggers in the mix.
He's up there. He will be. I think also Wes Anderson probably should be up there.
Also, I think Robert Eggers is an ideas guy, not a director, but that's just my own personal fault for not.
He's both, definitely. Yeah. He's definitely an ideas guy because he's written all of his movies and he does so much research.
And there's probably a lot of people.
Listen to our Nosferatu episode, which inspired Vampire January.
And I'm going to say, I'm talking American directors. There are probably a lot of people outside, especially I know like a lot of French directors are very good. And I'm sorry that I'm being a shit for not including any women or people of color. I definitely think that they are probably up there as well. It's just that in America, these older white men have had more opportunities for a much longer time. So it's easier for them to have this fantastic filmography. So
we should do an upcoming month that we haven't planned out yet where we do only female writers or directors.
March would be
I love it. And
the logical.
You've heard me say multiple times, I think, that I love seeing horror movies from women directors because it's a complete different eye.
Slumber Party Massacre, directed by a woman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that, but all right, good to know.
Raw.
We can cover it. Raw is great. Titan, same director.
Yes.
But
The Substance was obviously directed by a woman. But we've already covered that.
Again, it's interesting, though. The United States clearly is not giving women the same opportunities in horror that other countries.
We just named all
Australian and France.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, back to vampires.
Yes. Okay, so Salma Hayek also in this film.
Oh, she's in this film. That's for sure. I saw her.
A lot of her is in this film. You get a good look. Well, we do see her, and like the entire time she's on our screen, she is a
beautiful.
Snake is like wrapped around her. And she had a fear of snakes and always refused to be near them. So when she read the script, she was like, shit. I don't want to take the part. And our director, Robert Rodriguez, was like, actually, we're thinking Madonna might take the part. So
that would have been good too. That wouldn't have been as good, but I do love Madonna.
So like you kind of either need to take it now or, we're going to give it to Madonna. And she was like, okay, I'll do it. I needed to be in therapy for 2 months to overcome her fear of snakes.
Well,
it
was worth it. It was worth it.
I could not imagine Madonna in the role.
1996 Madonna is very different from 2024 Madonna, but
I
also agree.
Like frame of reference for 1996 Madonna. I think about modern day Madonna, and then like a Virgin tour Madonna, but nothing in between. It's just a black spot.
Okay,
for me.
I think that they got the right woman for the job.
Well, I feel bad that she had to be in therapy for 2 months, but also I think exposure therapy is really cool, and I think it's really helpful when it comes to things that you could actually be exposed to on a regular basis. Not that we're like regularly exposed to snakes,
for sure,
but like you could be exposed to snakes, or like Lupita Nyong'o for A Quiet Place Day One did exposure therapy for cats, and like you're gonna be around cats sometimes, so. I do think that's cool. I thought about, like, do I need exposure therapy for my fear of rodents?
Well, we've been working on it because we watched Nosferatu, and we also watched The Green Mile, which had a very cute little mouse in it. And you got better by the end of the movie.
I did,
I've never seen The Green Mile.
I've never seen The Green Mile either.
It's really good. It's really good. It's
a kid.
Do you know
I expect you to be better.
Wait, hold up. It's not a horror movie. It has horror elements. It's a Stephen King adaptation, though. And I'm drinking, so take this with a grain of salt, but I will say it is probably the best on-screen Stephen King adaptation. It's either that or The Shawshank Redemption. So, did you know that that's a King adaptation?
I didn't.
I knew that.
Mind blown.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like this one The Green Mile feels the most King-like. Air quotes.
I don't know King, so.
Yeah, you'll know when you watch it.
You know it when you see it.
You really do. That's the best way to put it. Okay, I'm getting us off topic. I'm sorry.
Okay, 2 more fun facts. When shown on commercial television, the name of the bar, Titty Twister, obviously cannot be there. Neither can the
entire
neon
bar.
sign breasts.
Yeah, or any of the women in the bar.
Yeah, most of
Why
that's
was
a
such
problem.
movie shown on TV?
It's a great
the real
point.
question is, why are we doing any censorship on regular TV? We should just we don't need it. It's this damn puritanical country that we live in. Those goddamn Hollands that came over here fucked everything for us. So
That was the OGs, though.
the Hollands. Jason knows.
So, what they had to do, though, is even like the neon boob signs, those are blocked out, and the name of the bar is Kitty Twister.
You can't even say titty on regular TV. What
No.
world do we live in?
On the 90s.
This is ridiculous.
I don't know. The 90s was the decade of the erotic thriller, so that does kind of surprise me.
But Kitty Twister
That's
is
debatably
maybe
worse.
more-
That's worse.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say,
actually disgusting.
That
Yeah.
upsets me a lot
Yeah,
more.
Because like that, the
That's
innuendo
worse.
of kitty is.
But it's weird
that's
because the
disgusting.
90s was like the golden era of like the Skinemax movies on late
But
night
not
cable.
Oh, we got to go back.
Oh, no.
All right. What's our last fun fact?
So I know we have some Rammstein fans in the room. Rammstein's video for Angle is an homage to this movie.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, everyone go check that out.
Okay, you mentioned before, and I didn't hear
Put it
Rammstein
together.
in it. Well, I didn't hear it, and so I was waiting for it.
Oh,
but
you
yeah.
were waiting for Rammstein. No,
that's what I
no,
thought,
their
too.
music video is just like an
Yeah.
homage
Yeah.
to
It's like
Okay.
the music video for Rammstein's self-titled song Rammstein is all Lost Highway clips.
No, is it?
Yeah,
that's
Oh
sick.
my god. So they're cinephiles.
Mm-hmm.
They love Lynch, Robert Rodriguez, and Tarantino.
I guess
get it.
so.
You know, I get it. They just like us for real.
For real, for
Bunch
real.
of German dudes.
FR.
Well, let's get into it. Three of us had seen this.
I want to talk about all the first time we've seen this movie
Yes.
for everyone. So for me, I watched this in college with friends. I knew
And
of
me.
it, and you're right. I
Don't
knew
forget about me, bitch.
I knew the twist beforehand because how do I avoid this in pop
I didn't.
culture? You didn't. Okay.
No.
So when you watched it, what was your reaction to the fact that this is a vampire movie that you don't find out until like an hour in?
Well, I remember being like, I am invested in. Like, this is interesting. George Clooney is killing it. Tarantino's gross, and like that tracks for me because
He is disgusting in this movie, and I know he wanted to be an actor, not a director. And like, he's good. Like he's good in this movie, but it's like this is the only role he could have played.
Of himself.
Yeah. Oh come on. Well, all right. This guy's an actual sex offender, like rapist. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you can
I'm
say
not
it.
saying I think Tarantino is a sex offender or a rapist, but like we don't know. But
Oh,
yeah, I would not say that about someone without allegations or proof. However, he is a little creep, and this character is a little creep. And so it fits really
For
well.
sure.
And the whole time I was like, when is Tarantino's character going to die? And then when there was this weird vampire twist, I was like, that's sick. And then I was like, it's even sicker because Tarantino's the first one out, bitch! Because I was like, oh, he's gonna assault this girl. Like,
Tarantino he's got the special sauce that a lot of directors and creators have. And I've said this before, both about David Lynch and about Hideo Kojima, video game director, that they're a little bit perverts. Just a little bit. Not in like a gross way, but that's like kind of their secret sauce. Am I wrong, Jason Seaman, as a Lynch fan?
You can see it a lot when Lynch is free from studio constraints and just seeing what he chooses to include and emphasize is what I'll say.
But it's not in like a gross or demeaning way. It's just like a little bit of voyeurism that these directors have, which obviously like film is inherently voyeuristic anyway. So it seems to be just this like, and I think Tarantino does it as well, right? Like,
I mean, David Lynch, I think, is interested as much as just for the nudity is for an art form. Like David Lynch has published like books of his nude photography.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not.
His own?
Yeah, his own nude photography. Well, not his own, but photos that he has taken.
That he's taken.
Oh.
But I think it makes
Damn.
a good point that like, and this is way too high level for From Dusk Till Dawn, but film is inherently about voyeurism. Like it's about wanting to watch other people's stories. And so like when I say a director's secret sauce is that they're a little pervy, like it makes sense to me that like a director is going to be that way. And I feel like it really works for these guys. And it never, I think, comes to the point where it's like demeaning or like exactly gross. Although you might say with Tarantino, sometimes it is.
On
But-
occasion.
On occasion. But I feel like it is like what like elevates him in some ways too. I'm not trying to get myself in trouble, but I'm doing my best to say this in the best way possible.
But yeah, I do remember when the twist came about, I was like, what the fuck? And I was hype.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I thought it was really funny. What about you, Jason?
I didn't think about the twist at all. The first time I saw the movie, it was my junior year in college. It was the night before we all left for spring break. And I went to my friend's floor, and I missed like probably the first half hour of the movie. I got there, everybody was already drunk. One of the people who lived there had been given a bottle of UV blue by one of the professors who bought it and said, "This is terrible, you take this." And so we all sat around, we were getting drunk on blue vodka and just going, woo, every time we saw tits on the screen.
Magic movie. and Jason Vargas, this is the first time you've ever seen
Tonight,
it.
yeah.
And you did not react to the
Like, at
vampire
all.
twist
I
that
was
much.
videoing
There's a lot
him.
going on, yeah. I mean, Tarantino movies, I feel like you never really know what to expect anyway, so yeah.
Okay, but he's never brought out a vampire in his movie.
No, but he like Pulp Fiction when you go into Zed's lair. It takes a real big
Zed's dead,
turn.
baby.
Yeah, kind of just out of nowhere. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it didn't catch me too off guard. But
I was videoing because I was waiting for him to like at least laugh or something or make a face. And
then it got super serious real quick, and I'm like, oh shit, well, now they're just fighting vampire. All right, I can get behind it, but yeah.
Stone cold.
I was invested in the moment.
Was locked in.
I was locked in.
He went lean forward pose when that happened. All right.
Mm-mm.
That's great. That's a testament.
I have it on video. He did not lean forward. He didn't do
no,
shit.
But that's a testament to this movie, like selling you on this. And I will say something I love, and Matt Dalton isn't here, but he always talks about how in American movies, there's like a whole hour that it takes for people to actually believe that the thing that's happening to them is happening. And a lot of the times I've talked about this in another episode, in foreign cinema, they're more quick to be like, well, maybe it's supernatural. And I love in this movie that pretty much immediately George Clooney is like, I don't believe in vampires, but I believe my own two eyes, and those are fucking vampires.
Yeah,
and it's
like
like there's no bullshit about it. It's like, no, these are vampires. Get wooden stakes, get holy water. We're taking them out. Like, and then there's no like I said, there's no beating around the bush. It's like these are vampires, and I think that helps the audience to not be as skeptical as well. To not be like, well, this is silly. Why are there vampires all of a sudden? It's like they're just vampires, all right? Like
it just be what it be.
It just makes sense. Why? Of course, they're going to feast on truckers and bikers at this weird Mexican bar.
Yeah, I do like how fast.
Yeah, why wouldn't this be happening?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very funny. But yeah, I like that too. He just like buys in so fast, but like it keeps the pace going. Like I think a lot of times when we play that game in movies of like, no one believes me, or like, is it really happening? Like it slows the pace.
Well, you already kind of
got
I feel like the peak was getting through the border security, like whatever that kind of movie was. I think they already played on the tropes enough, and then they were kind of getting near the tail end. You know,
yep,
they made it,
and then they just
and then they were like, well, now what's going to happen now?
Yes.
No one's paying attention. How long's left in the movie? Then all of a sudden, you just go into a completely different direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the magic is you basically have two completely separate movies that both completely work in their own right. Like one is the classic, like kind of Tarantino crime thriller that is actually really compelling.
With the family.
With the family, yeah.
It all ties it together, and then you get it going through to the end of the movie, yeah.
Yep. And then so you have that, and then you basically hit B-movie monster movie that's also just as, it's very good. And it feels like they took two scripts and said, let's put this together. And like, that's kind of where the magic happens.
It's so fun when people do that and it works.
It really is. And I feel like we don't see it as much anymore because this movie's a huge risk. Right. And maybe this also like, I don't really feel like we see very many Robert Rodriguez movies anymore because he did kind of swing for the fences in this way. Although I guess there are like 3 Machete movies. So
yeah.
Just a sec.
So that little bit when I was binge watching like Spanish horror from the 70s and 80s. Just how they take like, it's like a director who's like, oh yeah, I have like, I'm getting money from Japanese studios to make movies, so I have to have like set in Japan and Japanese actors. And so it's like, oh, the first half of the movie is like Yakuza thriller, and then the second half is like European horror movie. And they both work.
It works.
Yeah.
And this maybe ties back to something about horror that I think we've talked about before, is that it almost works best when it's blended into another genre.
Yeah.
Instead of just straight horror. And like, I think more movies should strive not to do this because this is insane, although I love it. But like, it's best when you can blend two genres and not just straight up be scary.
Yeah, no studio.
I think it's just hard to make a good 2-hour horror movie.
Just scary. I agree
like,
with you.
You can't be scary all the time. It's hard.
Yep. And I would say a lot of our favorite horror movies are more genre blenders.
It's very hard to get studios to give money to anything like this nowadays. Or anything that's like even remotely risky.
Oh yeah, I mean I completely agree. This is a huge
that's why
risk.
I would say A24 has this rep nowadays, because that is a studio that like when you go to them, they're like, fuck it, do what you want, bro.
Dude, yeah.
And that's why like, yeah, A24,
I mean, they are
like it's not the same creator for every movie.
And usually the movie's already made. They just pick it up. But they do pick up.
But they're willing to pick up these weird little freaks. And that, I think, is why people will, like, lump in so many A24 movies, because most of them are weird little freak movies.
But remember, this is like, we were joking about this with, like, Late Night with the Devil, and how you had, like, the first 5 minutes were just a dozen different, like, studio credits. Because that's how many people it took to raise the money to make
make something.
Because no single studio was willing to make something that was so different from what was making money. And it's a good movie. I like the movie. But it's just such a change of pace from the guaranteed moneymakers that no single studio is willing to take the risk to fund it.
Side note, I will throw in, I was listening to another horror podcast, Shout Out No Bodies. You've heard their name on here before. And they were talking about how there's a movie from the 90s that actually is very similar that Late Night seems to maybe have copied off of, whether intentionally or not. And apparently that version of it works better in their opinion.
Do you know what the name of it is?
Black that out. Sorry. Susie knows.
Okay,
Ask
I'll
her.
have to ask. Because there's a TV show that did something similar. That's why. But I don't remember what it was called. It was British.
I might not have even been alive then, or I was like 1. So Late Night felt very unique to me.
Yeah.
To Jason's point.
Well, with all of this being said, I actually really like this discussion over like funding for studios, but we got to do 15-second summaries and the full summary, and then we can really crack this egg.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to go first? I'll go last to make it easier for everyone else.
I'm going to give it to Jason Seaman to go first.
Okay. Say, a gang of not actually very lovable misfits going to a sleaze bar from hell and having the worst night of their lives.
You know what?
Nice.
That would have been a pretty good, like, back of the box summary for IMDb right there.
Without spoiling too much.
Without spoiling, I like that. That's a good,
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to go or do you want you to go?
You can go.
Okay, you ready? Yeah, George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino are bank robbers, and they rob a bank and they go to Mexico, and they get to Mexico. They're trying to meet up at this bar, but the bar is owned by vampires and vampire women who eat a bunch of people, and then they have to stop them, and there's another family, and there's a priest that regains his faith, like the movie Signs. All right, cool. I'm pretty sure I called him Quentin Tarantino.
That's close.
Close enough. Let's crack another beer.
Okay, I'll go. One extremely morally corrupt brother and his mostly morally corrupt brother end up in a bar with a bunch of vampires, and they help a priest, pastor man regain his faith before he dies.
That is a critical theme. Good work.
Real quick before you do it, what's the name of the movie with is it Adam Sandler with
What the fuck?
they have the RV and they have to cross the border?
No.
It's
you know
it's
what?
Millers.
We're the
We're the
Millers.
Millers.
We're the Millers. Yeah, okay, yeah,
That's
yeah,
Jason Sudeikis, bro.
Okay, well,
Yeah, come
all right,
on.
well, regardless.
Come on, wait.
Yeah, all right,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
But wait, before you go. Oh, never mind. You can go. I can't crack my beer.
You can just do it during the thing, yeah.
All ready? Go ahead.
Nice.
Okay, Jason, go.
We're the Millers, but they still get down to Mexico. But after they get down to Mexico, then vampires everywhere. Fun ensues. People die.
Except this was first, before We're the Millers.
I could totally see Scott, the character on this, going, "You guys are getting paid?"
Is that what that's from?
From We're the Millers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I never knew that.
That's such a funny scene.
I
I love that meme so much.
Really good, like, modern comedy.
Like
I would
modern
say.
R.
Modern. It's not
stoner
that modern anymore, but, like,
comedy, yeah.
that's, like,
Because there's not that much that I think of past, like, 2008,
I mean,
2010.
the two I think of that are that's not even 2010, post 2000s that I think are like quintessential comedies for me are Superbad and The Nice Guys. Maybe We're the Millers.
The Nice Guys is past 2010.
The Nice
The
Guys.
Nice Guys was when we were in
Do you think The
college.
Nice Guys is like the best recent comedy film? Because that's a real film. It's not just like.
That's not even recent. That was
Fine.
at least 6 or
I'm
7
talking
years
about
ago.
like that. It is more on the comedy side than anything else. Like there are a lot of movies that hit another genre and are also funny. That one
That's
is very
like
much
detective
like
comedy.
detective
Yeah.
comedy.
I love that movie. I think it's hilarious.
Like I think a movie like Parasite is like very funny, but also very dark. It's like a black comedy, so I'm not counting
Yes.
I
that.
wouldn't call that a
It's
comedy.
a black comedy
Yeah.
is what
maybe.
the word they use for it. But all right, let me read this plot description.
check
So
out.
buckle your seatbelts. All right, fugitive bank robbers, brothers Seth and Richie Gecko hold up a liquor store, killing the clerk and a Texas Ranger. At an inn room where they're hiding out, Seth returns from getting food and finds that Richie has raped and murdered the bank clerk that they had taken hostage. Jacob Fuller, a pastor experiencing a crisis of faith brought on by the death of his wife, is on a vacation with his teenage children Scott and Kate in their RV. They stop at the inn and are kidnapped by the Gecko brothers, who force the Fuller family to smuggle them over the Mexican border. In Mexico, they arrive at the Titty Twister, a strip club in the desert, where the Gecko brothers will be met by their contact, Carlos, at dawn. Carlos will escort them to a sanctuary at El Rey. During a bar fight, the bar employees reveal themselves as vampires and kill most of the patrons. Richie is bitten by a stripper and dies. Only Seth, Jacob, Kate, and Scott, a biker named Sex Machine, and Frost, a Vietnam War veteran, survive. The others are reborn as vampires, including Richie, forcing the survivors to kill them all. When an army of vampires in bat form assemble outside the survivors, lock themselves inside, but Sex Machine is bitten, becomes a vampire, and bites Frost and Jacob. Frost throws Sex Machine through the door, allowing the vampires to enter while Frost turns into a vampire. Seth, Kate, and Scott escape to a storeroom, followed shortly by an injured but still alive Jacob brandishing a cross shotgun. In the storeroom, they fashion weapons from truck cargo the vampires have looted from the past victims, including a stake mounted on a pneumatic driver, a crossbow, and holy water, which requires Jacob to recover his faith to bless. The group make their final assault on the undead. Jacob becomes a vampire after killing Frost, but Scott hesitates to kill him, allowing Jacob to bite him. Scott kills him, but then is overwhelmed by vampires who begin to devour him. He begs for death, and Kate kills him. As vampires surround Kate and Seth, streams of morning light enter through bullet holes in the building, making the vampires back away. Carlos arrives, and his bodyguards blast open the door, letting the sunlight in, which kills the vampires. Seth chastises Carlos for his poor choice of a meeting place and negotiates a smaller tribute for his mission to El Rey. Kate asks Seth if he wants her to go with him to El Rey, but he refuses, apparently concerned for her safety. Leaving with some cash, Kate drives away in an RV, leaving the titty twister behind, which is revealed to be the top of a partially buried temple. And that's the movie.
At Horror Hour with the Hannahs, we know that some of the most heartwarming moments come from our pets. Definitely not haunted houses. That's why we're excited to partner with Forever Framed. They create custom photo magnets that beautifully capture the personality of our furry friends. Whether you're cozying up with your cat during a horror marathon or your dog is standing guard while you brave your favorite scary flick, Forever Framed ensures your pet's memory is front and center in your home. We are so excited to get one for our pup Norton and our cat Lily. Visit foreverframed.com, that's F-U-R-E-V-E-R, framed, Framed.com to get started on your personalized pet magnet today. Because even when the chills hit, your pet deserves to be remembered with warmth.
This is your official invitation to join me twice each week in the Red Treehouse, where I'll tell you scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse wherever you stream podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Pods, and YouTube. In every episode, we'll explore a brand new scary story or topic, including cryptids, hauntings, possessions and exorcisms, true crime, classic horror stories, and more. And along the way, you'll be challenged to consider what you believe. Does the paranormal or supernatural exist? Or is there a more rational, natural explanation? It's a scary world out there. Let's explore it together. I'll share the stories. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.
That movie's insane.
Yeah.
Gets bit by a stripper and dies.
That's all I want to go.
Good one way to go, yeah.
No reaction from my wife. Were you
That's
listening?
not how you go. That's not how you're going out, buddy. No
Okay.
strippers for you.
I want to
We support sex work on this podcast. I don't want to get it twisted, but my husband will not be engaging.
I love the movie. I love. I was saying, I love the movie Anora. All right, it's a movie about. Jason gave me a weird look. It's a movie. It's a really good movie. That
There's a
came
lot
out this
going
year.
on there.
This movie came out this year. Really, really good. Mikey Madison plays a stripper who marries like Russian oligarch's son.
It's really
Oligarch's son.
Huh.
Really, really good. Like a top 5 this year.
good.
I want to give the floor to Jason, who's never seen it.
Ooh.
Did you like it?
Oh, I enjoyed it a lot, yeah.
I heard you giggling a lot.
What about it did you enjoy?
I guess I didn't know what to think at first when it was written by Tarantino, but not directed, but a writer has a lot of impact on the film. I mean,
And could you see Tarantino in the script? Like, does it feel
I mean,
like
at
him?
first, yeah, like I thought the dialogue wouldn't be the Tarant, but then after seeing it, it was like, oh, well, I mean, all the writing is, the dialogue's right there, so it was like, oh, okay, yeah. But no, there's definitely a little bit of someone else's flair in it, but I feel like he had a pretty solid idea on the movie and like had a good amount of influence behind it.
Is his a good amount of influence drinking whiskey pouring off of a stripper's foot?
That kind of
that
influence,
was
yes.
that was a little bit a part of it, yeah.
I
That was
do
a
think
funny scene,
That's the
yeah.
same kind of influence that's happening on this podcast right now, just the whiskey part.
I will say everyone always gives Tarantino shit for filming feet. I think he's great at filming feet. I think it actually is important for his movies, and I think people should stop calling him like bad things for doing that. Like, he likes filming feet. It looks good in his film. He's good at doing it. Get over it.
It would be different
Yeah,
if he wasn't a confirmed foot fetishist.
Well, whatever. Who cares? You know, no kink shaming on this podcast. You know,
We're not
Agree
seeing
there, yeah.
we're not seeing him do anything particularly odd with the feet. They're just
No.
feet. Like, they're not, doing
but
perverted things.
I feel like the whole stereotype about him has to come from this movie because this is absurd.
There's
Well, also, like,
hella-
It's way more over the
Opening-
top than
Well,
anything else. Yeah.
The entire like foot massage monologue from Pulp Fiction is also like
It's there, yeah, but yeah, not quite
But like,
anaconda around a woman while whiskey is being poured down her leg.
yeah. If it was around her feet, that would be different.
okay. So you liked the movie. Like I said, I heard you giggle a lot. I was going to say, in terms of Tarantino's writing, this movie might be the biggest testament to the fact that Tarantino is a really, really good writer. Because this is dumb as shit. It's a weird-ass movie, and yet I'm completely rooting for the characters. I feel that there is, like,
I believe in the characters.
Yeah, you
like
believe in
there's-
them,
yeah,
right?
Like they have their flaws, but they have their. They are characters. They're not just either moral or one other just thing that is them. They are a person with very varying things. Yeah.
Well, something like that I like about this movie is the quotes are either so funny or so poignant. Like, I think the dialogue is really good and locks you in.
He's actually a genius. Like, I'm going to just say it. Like, his dialogue writing is, like, top notch. But
Yeah. I wrote down a bunch of quotes that I either thought were hilarious or that I thought were, like, important to the film, such as, "You don't believe in God anymore? Not enough to be a pastor," which is, like, a thematically relevant quote that then comes in later. "As far as God's concerned, he's one of the boys. Only one problem." And then George Clooney is basically like, yeah, he's lost his faith, which again, like, so thematically relevant. And then we kind of get the answer to that whole discussion. And then we have just hilarious quotes like, "How's that happen? You don't look Japanese." And then Dad goes, "Neither does he. He's Chinese." Like, just the response to the racism.
it's, yeah.
What's in Mexico?
Mexicans. Like, he is so funny, so poignant. The dialogue just, like, flows. And I would say one of my favorite quotes in any film ever is when Harvey Keitel, also insane that he's in this movie playing this part as the priest.
Oh,
or
you're
the
going to say the
pastor.
other quote I wrote down.
Well, let me say it because I love it. He's holding a gun to his head and he's like, "You have to kill me if I turn into a vampire." And his son is like not about it. And he goes, "You don't believe in suicide." And he looks at him and goes, "It's not suicide if you're already dead." Because he already got bit by a vampire. And I think that's the funniest line.
I
to
thought
me.
you were going to say what he says to George Clooney, which is, "Are you such a loser that you can't tell when you've won?"
Also a great line. Maybe
That
even
was
a
the
better
whole
line.
great scene, yeah.
That line is more of a line for life.
Yeah.
You know, where the other one is more like, "I can't believe that you were able to write this into a script."
Yes.
Personal favorite quote of
Yeah.
mine is, "Psychos do not explode when they're hit by the sun. I don't care how crazy they are."
But do you see my point? Like, when Tarantino is obviously a very good writer, but I feel like when you have a movie as dumb as this one, and I love this movie, it's like clear how good he really is.
Yeah, it's like he just had the idea, get down to Mexico, have some vampires, have some fun, and that's all you really need. Yeah.
But without his dialogue, it's like not nearly as thrilling. You don't have this like crime thriller element that works as well.
Yeah.
Like, it really just is compelling and like pulls you into all these characters. So I just want to give the man a lot of credit. I think he's very talented.
I
And
mean, I don't want to interrupt you.
oh, no, go ahead. No, go.
No, it's just interesting. Like, it's like a bonkers movie, and it's like crazy. And it's like, oh yeah, like the characterization is not like in the front seat as far as getting the plot moving. But it seems that he does give like depth to George Clooney's character. which he didn't
100%.
have
Yep.
to. This thing when he's like talking to Quentin Tarantino, it's like, listen, I don't kill people I don't have to. I don't rape women
I liked that part too.
And at the very end, it's like, do you know, what's the place he's going? El something?
El Rey.
Oh, Ray.
It's like, do you know what El Rey is? It's like, no. It's like, listen, what does he say? It's like, might be a bastard, but I'm not like a damn bastard.
No, I might be a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard.
Yeah, like he actually, he might be a criminal, but he clearly has like some sort of moral code about it.
Yeah.
And like there is such a difference between being
Him
a
and Richie.
murderer or a rapist, like his brother, versus him who's like not actually trying to kill or hurt people, but like that's just what happens when you have Richie in tow, I think.
Yeah, I mean, his
No,
whole
but he
thing is that he's a
does
bank robber. Sorry, go ahead.
Kill people if he says he has to. And so he's like not a good person.
He's not
but
a
he
good
has
person, but
his
he has
own internal.
he has a form of a
compass.
moral compass,
Yeah.
which Richie doesn't have,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
But she's interesting, like such like a weird, funny movie. It's like, oh yeah, there's like some like good characterization going on here, which he didn't have to include, but he did.
I think you're proving my point about Tarantino clearly.
He
a good
always
writer.
does, yeah.
And I don't think it would work very well if we didn't have George Clooney who has some sort of moral compass, because otherwise he'd probably like abandon the kids, like fuck it. But because we've gotten some characterization about him, like he's not going to do that, or he's not going to like let her get hurt once that's who he's protecting. And then I think the characterization of Harvey Keitel's character is extremely important for like the thematic elements as well.
Yep.
So
There's a part where I think this movie really, really comes together, and it's after they get across the border. And George Clooney says, in my book, or it's you're all cool in my book, or something like that. It's so funny because they like helped him get across, and it's like, okay, this is where this like unit of this weird band of misfits like really comes together.
yeah.
And you kind of understand his personality a little more, that a lot of it's a front.
Yes.
And Richie's is not a front. Richie's an actual psycho. That dude is insane. That's
Yeah.
And I don't think there are not a lot of people that I think could have played it as well as Tarantino.
Honestly, probably not.
Like,
yeah.
I think this is the best role for Tarantino. Sorry, buddy, but like this is perfect for you.
Richie had some. I mean, not he wasn't a good person, and there's like not a lot of redeeming qualities. But like when he's with him in the RV bathroom, it's like we have to stop acting like a nut, and that includes you. It's like, oh, you say I'm acting like a nut. Was breaking you out of jail, acting like a nut. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, he broke his brother out of jail for some reason. Maybe,
Well,
I assume because he loved his brother. Maybe not. Maybe he
Jason,
had some ulterior motive.
we do
but-
not have to hand it to Richie.
No, that was,
Richie
I think
is-
that was the end of it. Yeah, his brother got in jail and he broke him out. Yeah, probably. But
No
yeah.
other redeeming qualities.
No other redeem. That dude is a scumbag.
I think it just goes to show that, like, clearly they do love each other through whatever. And, like, that's why it's hard for George Clooney to, like,
He didn't want to punch him in the
Knock
face to
him.
knock him out in the thing, but
he's
what
not
he had
even
to do
good,
there.
We have to say though, like, I'm sorry, I'm making fun of Tarantino, but he's an easy target.
Yes.
Dude had to have been so excited to be like, I'm George Clooney's brother, because like he is not a handsome man.
Clooney's hot. We all know it.
There's this fantastic photo for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where the three of them, so it's Brad Pitt, Leo, and him are in a car, and someone says, why is Tarantino always posing like he's the hot one? Because like, I love this man's brain so much.
I just think it's nice when he can like write a character who's like obviously a bad person and has like just zero redeeming qualities at all, but they still read like a real human being
For
and
sure.
not a cartoon villain.
George Clooney reads as such a real person.
I thought he was talking more about Ricky. And
I was talking
Richie, yeah. No,
I think-
Richie does read like
Yeah,
a person,
he
but
He does, yeah.
I think it's because they kind of add that he might be like a little schizophrenic in it as well, or just an like I don't know, like he clearly sees things happening that aren't actually happening,
With the girl
He's, like,
and
very
the-
paranoid.
Yeah.
I thought it's just-
I guess
Or-
only
or
that
the-
one part really.
or
but
the
yeah.
entire
corny.
opening scene where he's like, I saw him mouthing, and he just like didn't, or he's just a shithead and wanted to kill people. I don't know.
He just could be, like, extremely paranoid, which could be
Paranoid schizophrenia.
a sign of schizophrenia, but it also could just be, like, paranoia.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a bad person.
Well,
Like, we don't know, and we don't need to give him too
So-
much credit there, but
No,
We're
just
talking
like,
No, but I mean, his character was very good in it. You know, like
there's a,
yeah.
like a trend with writers, like when you have someone who's like just a bastard through and through, just to make them like such a caricature of evil and not like a believable thing. It's like, this is a real person who happens to be evil.
Mm.
you make it. Yeah, that's a great point. And he's really evil, but he doesn't feel like a cartoon.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Yeah, Tarantino. So we liked the writing in this movie.
Yes.
So we got to get into other stuff we liked. And I will say, like, from an acting standpoint, Clooney, absolute star. I like seeing Tarantino act. I think having Tom Savini, who I love, I don't know if you guys know, but makeup artist from Pittsburgh, so we love him for that, involved in a lot of horror movies, but he gets to act in this movie as Sex Machine, who has a penis gun.
Yeah.
Sick as
Classic,
fuck.
I guess.
Like,
First time I saw it, but it's got to be a classic. Yeah.
absolutely absurd. Like, I like seeing him. I love seeing Harvey Keitel being in this basically B movie, who we know is great. And really across the board, acting performances very good. So I just wanted to mention those people. Danny Trejo as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's and Salma Hayek, as we said before. Like, everyone in this movie really understood the assignment. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
Also, having a character named Sex Machine, having Tom Savini play him, and having a penis gun is like, well, you're automatically at least a 5 out of 10 movie if you check all those boxes.
Iconic.
But Tom Savini, he was in Dawn of the Dead, stunts, and also makeup. I'm a fan because, again, Pittsburgh boy. But, you know.
Boy.
So I was going to say, what are other things we like? And I will say definitely practical effects.
The practicals are so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie was made for the practical. Like, it is made to show off the practicals. That is the entire purpose of this movie.
I
They
imagine
might
the first scene was in the storage closet, making all the weapons, getting ready to fight the vampires. And then it was written through there. Yeah, it's just like, let's fuck up some vampires.
It's just so good. Like when George Clooney is fighting like the dog that comes out of Sex Machine's body, it's like you can tell like this man is fighting a real puppet. He's not like punching in the air around a green tennis ball that they're later going to animate around. Like, this is a physical thing.
There's real physicality. Continue what you're saying, though, Hannah.
I lost it.
Oh, you're saying the whole movie was made for the practical effects,
like
basically.
we know that it was made for the practical effects. Like, that is where the idea came from, and that's where the writing comes from. And so if the practicals were bad for this, that would be kind of embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they are so fun, and that is partially why, like, this movie, like, inevitably had to be rated R. Obviously, there is choice language, but even without that language, it was heading in that direction because of how fucking violent this movie is. But because it's practicals, there's something, like, really funny about it.
Yeah. It's a squishy movie.
Yes,
which is
it
like
is so
what
squishy.
That's why violent movies work so much better with practicals, because there's tangibility to it. Like, you feel every blow on somebody.
That's what I said in
Squishy, maybe.
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark when I'm going to say the character's name. People aren't going to know him. He's Totes. He's like one of the head Nazis.
Okay.
When his head explodes at the end, they had to
With the
animate.
lightning?
No, they had to animate fire over his head because the rating people said, like, if we see gore, that's R. And they wanted to keep it PG.
There was hold up. I'm going to catch you on this because there was no rated R at that point. It would have been worse.
There was no PG-13.
You're right. There was no PG-13. Yeah. You're right, because Temple of Doom was the first PG-13. Fuck me.
Really?
Good point. Yeah, Temple of Doom was the first PG-13 movie. So it was either PG or R. That's why. Okay, so continue.
Temple of Doom was a weird movie. Might have deserved its own rating.
Temple
maybe,
of Doom and Gremlins were the two movies that made the studios think, like, hey, we need something in between these two ratings because these movies are just intense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I interrupted you to be wrong.
No, that's just my thing about like the violence in the R rating. Like, there's some things like when I saw Five Nights with Freddy's with the other Matthew
Lillard.
Oh, Matthew Lillard and Matt Damon. Yeah, when I saw
I'm sorry.
When I saw Five Nights with
funny.
Freddy's with the other two Matts, I was I looked at it and it's like, it's an okay movie. I never played the video game, and it was fine. I enjoyed the movie, but I kept thinking, like, if they had just been willing to go in for an R rating and expanded on some of these ideas, it would have been so much better if they could have just emphasized the darker aspects of this and not subdued those to get the PG-13.
I agree with you. The issue is that most Five Nights with Freddy fans are under 16.
Yeah.
So they got to get that cash money. They got to make their budget. Not that I care if they make their budget or not, but that's why. But I get what you're saying. Okay. Practicals that we said were great. I actually like the vampire design in this. It's pretty stereotypical, but like...
I think it's dumb, but
I think
it's funny, so it's okay.
I think you think it's dumb because you've seen so many vampire movies at this point.
Yes.
Where at the time, this was like, oh, maybe new. Every, like, arms ripping off, everything about that is great.
I just meant their faces.
Oh, their faces. Yeah. It's different.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not.
It was
now,
different, yeah, but like in like a, I think that almost helped with the how quick it went to the vampire thing. It was like,
it
well,
made
these are vampires.
it
Yes,
made it very,
right. It makes it very clear.
Yeah.
I
And I think that does help. Yeah,
I will
which-
give that
yeah.
its praise. Like, it makes it very clear, like, we're dealing with a monster-esque threat, not
Yeah.
just, like, some people.
Would very much help. That I feel like if it was a different kind of movie, I would have thought it would be a little lame. But with how fast paced of a switch it goes from being like another movie into vampire,
Yeah,
I think it really does kind of help keep everything going in there.
that's a good point, Jason.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else we really liked, or do we hit all of the main things?
I just thought that they had a plot, and they said, we're going to make a movie about this. We're just going to do it.
I'm kind of there from the beginning. Get to Mexico and survive till the day.
That's
and
what I'm
then
saying. It's
by the end, it's still get to Mexico and survive until the day. You didn't quite realize what exactly was surviving until the morning.
Yeah, who
was gonna
cares?
be
Just
like.
got to make the movie.
At first, I thought, oh well, the U.S. government's coming for them.
No,
Did
no.
they crash through the border? But no, that's all fine. Then vampires.
I'm dying because that is the absolute magic of this. You're like, what's going to happen next?
It's like, oh, they're
Oh,
getting
there's
to the border. They get
vampires?
through the border. Oh,
Which-
it's all okay.
That's what's so fucked. We didn't let you read the description because the description of the movie literally spoils it. And I was like, that's the funniest part, is that you think you're watching a crime thriller and then they drop vampires on you.
Yeah.
Like more movies should just drop some weird shit on us. Imagine you're watching Heat and then all of a sudden vampires. Or sorry, not vampires, evil mermaids. I don't know. Like,
Evil mermaids.
just
Just a concept.
something.
Yeah.
something. You know, I'm sorry. It's in workshop. All right. Okay.
I thought the weapons they made or they used were really funny.
That shit
the
felt like a
pencil-
video game.
The pencil through the heart was hilarious.
The pencil's hilarious. Yeah.
The water balloons and water gun of holy water was fucking
Not the water
genius.
balloons, the condoms.
The condoms, they were
Yes.
condoms specifically,
But they were-
filled with water,
Yes,
holy
made into
water,
water
Hannah.
balloons.
That's
That part felt like a video game. That felt like Left 4 Dead. Like all these.
the freaking the jackhammer
With the stake at the end?
stake. Yeah, like yeah. I mean, yeah.
They
No, I mean,
literally-
that must have been one of the first ideas from the movie. Was like,
they make in the game.
kitting up for like Left 4 Dead, getting out of the storage thing, and well, no, I mean, just before Left 4 Dead. So,
In the game
yeah.
Bloodborne, there's a stake driver as a weapon, which I have to assume was inspired by 1996's From Dusk
but
Till Dawn.
it's such a pointless thing. There's no reason for the stake to be doing this.
No, the guy was
but it
literally
looks
saying
so
how
cool.
hard. No,
Yes.
the guy literally described how hard it was to stab a stake into a man.
Good point.
And then
You need a
multiple
little-
of them. I mean, it was like
You need a little
that
more
would,
force.
yeah. You automate that. Yeah, no, but like, yeah. I mean, the guy he mentioned it in words how hard it was to stab someone with a stake.
I see pros and cons to both.
Well, we got to keep
A
moving
sick weapon,
here.
regardless. Yeah.
We got to keep moving here. Is there anything we didn't like? I'm not going to say anything. This movie is very much a B movie. I don't have anything to be like, well, I disliked it.
I think it's like everything it's going for works. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's going for B movie energy, and I think that's entirely successful.
Yeah.
Had
Yeah.
someone tried to tell me this was supposed to be like
Cinema. I mean, it
Cinema?
is cinema.
like an
So-
A movie, if shall we say, no, it don't work. But it works for what it's doing, and I have to give it some props for that. You know, I don't think it's doing anything wrong in what its actual mission as a film is.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has a dissenting opinion.
Well, I think with that, I guess I would just be. Have they never had a George Clooney go into this establishment and like fuck up all the vampires? Or did the vampires die
I'm
like every
assuming
day?
the vampires are killing people every night.
Yeah,
they're
from
getting
the
truckers.
storage locker, it sounded like they were pretty much killing everyone. But then, like George Clooney just happens to show up and then they kill the entire posse of vampires.
I think
that was the only plot hole I had with the whole movie. But it was also, I wasn't expecting the vampires, and the vampires get in, and then like 30 minutes later, now they're all dead.
I think we had
Doesn't really matter. But
we
yeah.
ended up having. Well, remember that's why they only want truckers and bikers there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like.
Apparently, truckers and bikers are dumb and they just
They're
drink a bunch and
transients.
go to sleep. Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
they
they
might
drink
not
a
know
little.
they're missing.
Yeah,
Where in this
yeah.
situation we have a bank robber who's really smart and a priest. Like
So maybe that was
basically the
difference,
worst combination for a vampire. You know,
But it's interesting when you're looking at like the classic era of B movies, like the 80s. And if you watch those, like the funniest ones, like a movie that sets out to be a funny bad movie is never going to be funny. It's just going to be bad. Like the best funny bad movies are the ones that try to be good and failed in funny ways.
Except for
This
one.
movie doesn't do any of those though. this movie sets out to be the very best B movie that it can be. It doesn't try to be a bad movie. It tries to be a very good B movie.
I completely agree.
Yes.
I think that's the best way to put it. And maybe that's like Robert Rodriguez's whole thing, I feel like, because like Planet Terror is him as well, which is like part of Grindhouse. I was saying that earlier about, I don't know if you guys have seen, what's Tarantino's car crashing movie with Kurt Russell? Death Proof.
Pulp Fiction.
Death Proof.
That one,
In Machete, obviously, like kind of has like a B movie feel. Like it's very much his style, and he's very good at it. I think it's a magic movie, and I wish they don't. I said it. I put it in our Blue Sky. Follow us on Blue Sky, but they don't make them like they used to. This is what I'm talking about when I say it. We don't get enough bullshit anymore because everyone's afraid to take a loss. Like we don't get enough really good bullshit or really good delicious garbage, as we say. Which this movie
That's better.
This movie is like a tier up from delicious garbage.
Yeah,
is how I would put it. So, okay, themes. I know we already touched on them, but this is a movie about rediscovering faith. It's like Signs, which I love. It's not as good as Signs in that regard, but
I think, like we said, the purpose really is to use the practicals.
Yeah.
So, like, going from there to have a B movie adjacent that has actual themes and purpose beyond that, I was like, that's great. Like, you go. But yeah, it's not like a super deep theme. I think it's very much like on the surface in the dialogue that he has lost his faith because his wife died and he needs to find faith to save his family. Yeah. And he does that.
The real theme is very meta. Like, why don't we make really good B movies anymore?
That's interesting. Because like we're talking about like a movie centered around the practical effects, and there are like a couple of different ways that a writer and director can go with that. They could say like, I want to have these effects, and I need just enough plot to make these effects plausible.
Yeah.
But this guy didn't do that. He said, it's like, oh, I want these effects, but the plot's got to be damn good to make these effects worth it.
I fully agree. All right. Well, if we talked about what it's... Oh, I was going to say its other purpose is to put Tarantino and George Clooney on the map. So...
They're both of those successful.
Very successful in that, and we are grateful for it. Thank you. Okay, let's do favorite scenes, and let's rate this thing.
Yeah.
So...
Favorite scene.
Ooh.
I actually... This is like a dark, sinister scene, and it's not even when the vampires are part of the movie, but I do really like the scene where George Clooney comes back and finds what his brother has done to the bank teller that they were holding hostage.
That is that's the scary scene in the movie.
I know. I think it's done really well because the way that it flickers just so fast
One
to
frame
like the
cuts
carnage
to what she is.
that what the room looks like, I think is scarier than showing us the body. Because I don't think it would look that scary like when we got it from kind of a distance. I don't think it's that scary. But I think just like showing just the blood splatters shows the real impact of like this person's a monster.
The first one's like 3 frames too, and then it like gets longer and longer. It's very subliminal.
And George Clooney, it's like reflecting his thing. It's like, what in the world have you done?
Yeah.
This did not have to happen.
Like, this
and
is
you
not
did it
After
because-
you hear the scene about him telling how he's going to kill the guy and do all this stuff, and then it was like,
well, it's like
it still wasn't even way more swirly.
He's looking, it's like, he's looking at his brother, and you have the combination of how the scene is filmed. It's like, he looks at his brother and it's like, you did this just because you wanted to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
He's a real freak.
He's a fuck.
Even the scene leading up to that too, like saying, "Come sit on the bed, come watch TV."
Oh, and
with
you
me,"
know
is-
it's done
it's
for
not gonna
her.
go well.
Like, it's a bad
Yeah.
situation either way.
It leads back to the magic of this movie being 2 completely different films that are both good in their own right.
And how like Come Watch TV with me could have like gone like 2 different ways. That could have been like a childlike insanity, or it could have just been like
that's
active
what I
malice.
got. That's what I thought of originally. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
when I first
Well, no,
saw
and then
it,
Hannah was talking about it. I'm like, I don't. And then the next scene, but
when I
Hannah was spoiling it a little bit. I think, yeah.
no, well, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, if she doesn't go, he's gonna shoot her, and if she does go, he's gonna assault her,
Yep.
which like is what happens.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
Like, he's a piece of shit. Something bad's gonna happen either way. There's no winning this situation. So I think the lead up is really scary, and then obviously the fallout of that is also really scary. But it does, like Jason said, it gives us more characterization into George Clooney and how he actually feels about the life of crime.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're saying all this smart shit about From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah,
I'm really impressed with us.
Okay, well, give us your favorite scene.
My favorite scene? Okay, well, I wanted to go last, but I'm going to say when they pull away to show that the bar is just this giant, like, temple underground at the end. It's just such an amazing moment. I'm sure there are many better scenes, but I have to mention it, so I'll let that be mine.
That's pretty funny, yeah.
Who's the character that was in what's his name? Frost. My favorite scene is when he's describing when he killed all the Viet
God
Cong.
damn it.
There are like 4 or 5 cuts, and in each one, he's in the background. He's still telling the story.
I like the ones when he
everything is
doesn't
happening
have
around
dialogue.
him, and he's just telling the same story for like 5 minutes straight. When it's impossible for the audience to be paying attention because he's not talking. He just keeps going. He's so into his own story.
And then he gets bit by Sex Machine. That's a good
wait, he
thing.
was talking, right? No, wait.
No, there's a part where it went silent when it was from Sex
Yeah,
Machine's
yeah.
perspective. And
Yeah,
she
I thought
like,
that was
looking
Sex
at him.
Machine's perspective.
Yeah, but I'm
He
saying
was
it's
talking,
silent.
yeah.
He was talking, but no one could.
Yeah.
We weren't hearing him.
No, but yeah, I enjoyed that. Like, yeah. I feel like
Alright.
you always see that. Nah.
So, what's your favorite scene, Jason? If you can't pick that one, I can name another if need be.
I enjoyed the 3 you brought up. I really did enjoy the when they were just all getting kitted out right before the final fight. That just was just funny and just nonsensical.
That's such a good
And,
way to put it.
Yeah. I also enjoyed all the other scenes you brought up too, but yeah, that one was just
Getting
I feel
kitted
like
out.
that had to be some of the original idea. Like we're fucking up some
This movie
vampires and then
is
just
just-
turn it into a masterpiece. But yeah.
It is just so fun, and that's like where you bring up. It is just such a fun movie. I will mention one more because I think it needs to be said. The border,
biker gang stuff, cracking open the crates, bins full of sunglasses.
Yeah.
I was going to say the crossing the border scene, obviously great. Just want to make sure we say it. Everyone knows it's very tense. One of the really what ends the crime thriller portion of the movie. And it's great. All right. Well, we've said favorite scenes. We all clearly love this movie, but we have to rate it, unfortunately, because I don't think this movie is easy to rate.
You
at
go,
all.
Matt.
Are you going to make me go first?
Yeah,
Okay.
Since you're saying it's not easy, let's put you on the
This
spot.
is the greatest 6 out of 10 ever made.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. It is 100% a 6 out of 10. Everyone should watch it. It's fantastic, and I will watch it multiple times. This is not the last time I'll watch it. Before I die, I've got at least 3 more watches, maybe more, because it's so fun to show your friend. If you're listening to this podcast, it's been spoiled for you. Make somebody who hasn't seen it watch it and don't spoil. Just say, "Oh, I'm going to put this fun Tarantino crime thriller on," and let them react, because maybe that's where the real magic of this movie comes from. But that's what I got. 6 out of 10. I'm sorry.
I think I'll bump it up to a 7 out of 10. Like, the movie knows what it is. It doesn't try to be more. It doesn't try to be bad. It is like comfortably in the middle range. And it's like, oh, I'm going to be like the best B movie I can be. I'm just gonna throw stuff in for the sake of it and just like, oh, it's going to be fun. It's like, it's not something for you to sit around and think about. It's something for you to shout, woo! As you're seeing like good kills on the screen.
And titties.
Yeah.
And we love that. Jason?
I was thinking 8.5. Yeah.
Oh, shit!
I also just I guess after I just don't know what like a 4 or even a 6 out of 10 movie would be. I guess
Hannah and I
movies
watched
either like really bad or like so. Yeah,
Listen,
maybe I'm a bit more. I don't know. Yeah,
I
like
gave-
if it's a good movie, I like it. Yeah, I don't really know what that middle ground palette would be. Maybe so. Like everything's either going to be like an 8 or 9 or like a 2 or 4.
The man
but,
sees the world in black and white. There is no
a little
shades
bit.
of
Yeah, I
gray.
enjoyed this movie though. But yeah.
I just gave Nosferatu a 7 out of 10, so this can't be higher than that.
And I told you that you were wrong.
I said I would watch it again.
And I think my
It's
first
probably
2 movie
7.5.
ratings were both in the 9, so I thought this would be an 8.5. Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
All right, Hannah, my co-host in this podcast and in life, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 6.5. I think it's perfect at what it is, and what it is a B movie, so I don't think it's fair to give it that much higher than that.
Y'all
Like,
are making-
I have so much fun with this movie. It is an above average movie, but like, it's not Robert Eggers cinema. And that is like the most recent movie we recorded an episode on in real time. So yeah, it's hard to get that out of your head when you're like watching the most beautiful movie of the year and then to watch this. So
Well, you
Six
guys make
and
me
a half.
feel
Worth the
bad.
watch, though,
Can I
yeah.
say I absolutely
Yeah.
love this movie and I give the lowest rating. So do with that what you will.
so fun.
All right, boys. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Let's go to this party.
Cheers.
Or sorry,
to 2025,
let's go.
yeah.
Cheers, everyone. Make sure it clinks loud into the mic.
wait. And then take a drink. And then
Take a drink. Oh,
remember to slam it. Yeah.
that's what George Clooney taught me. Slam it. Peek that mic. All right, fans out there. Happy New Year. This is coming out weeks later. Happy Vampire January. Love you all. I'm Matt Hanna.
I'm Hannah.
We got Jason's here.
Jason.
Jason.
Yep. All right. Peace the fuck out.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannas. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you can find podcasts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!